Now the old man did not have his harpoon, and he had to improvise a weapon by lashing his knife to the butt of one of his oars. And now he was practically unarmed. Some of his hope returned. It was silly not to hope, not only silly but sinful. Then he told himself not to think about sin. There were enough problems without sin. Besides, he had no understanding of sin. Perhaps it was a sin to have killed the fish, even though he had killed it to keep himself alive and feed many people. He must not think about sin, especially when he had already killed the fish. Besides, there were people who were paid to commit sin. Let such people think about sin. He was born to be a fisherman, as the fish was born to be a fish. He realized that he had not killed the fish only to keep alive and to sell it to feed other people. He had killed it for pride, because he was a fisherman. He had loved the fish when it was alive, and he loved it afterwards. If he loved it, killing it was not a sin. But he had enjoyed killing the shark. This particular shark was not a scavenger. It was beautiful and noble and fearless, and he had killed it in self-defense, and killed it well. Besides, the old man thought everything killed everything else in some way. Fishing killed him exactly as it kept him alive. The boy kept him alive also, he thought. There was no way by which the old man could prevent other sharks from smelling the dead marlin. He knew that a very bad time was coming for him. Having sailed for 2 hours or so, and having chewed a bit of the meat from the marlin, the old man now saw 2 more sharks approaching. And he identified the new enemies as shovel-nosed sharks known as galanos. They were hateful sharks, bad-smelling, scavengers as well as killers. After a brief struggle, the old man was able to kill both of them, but they had succeeded in tearing away a quarter of the best meat of the marlin. The whole thing seemed to be going wrong. The old man wished that he had never hooked the marlin, and that he had never gone out so far in search of fish. The old man's ordeal was not over. More sharks would come. He was tired, and he was not properly equipped. The next shark was a single shovel nose. The old man allowed it to approach and attack his marlin, and then drove the knife on his oar down into its brain. But the shark jerked backwards as it rolled, and the knife blade got broken. The shark sank into the water. The old man had no weapon now except the gaff, the 2 oars, the tiller, and the short club. He felt that the sharks had beaten him. He was too old to club the sharks to death, but he made up his mind to fight them as long as he could. The sharks did not attack the marlin again until just before sunset. The first 2 which came were both galanos. The old man raised his club high and brought it down heavily on the top of the shark nearest to him. The other shark had already started tearing the flesh from the marlin. The old man swung his club and hit the shark 2 on the head. By hitting them again and again, he was able to inflict serious wounds on them and drive them away. He did not now want to look at his marlin. He knew that half of it had already been destroyed. The sun had gone down while he had been fighting the sharks. He thought that soon he would see the glow of Havana. He was not too far away from the beach now. He hoped that no one had been feeling worried about him. But the boy must have felt anxious, and many of the older fishermen might also be worrying. Then he turned to the big marlin and said, quote, "Huff fish, fish that you were, I am sorry that I went too far out. I ruined us both, but we have killed many sharks, you and I, and ruined many others." Unquote. There was a possibility of more sharks coming in the night. The old man was determined to continue the fight. He hoped to take whatever was left of the marlin ashore. He might be lucky enough to save the remaining half of the marlin. But no, he had violated his luck by having gone too far out into the sea. And yet there might be some luck in store for him still. He wished he could buy some luck from somewhere. But what had he got to pay as the price for luck? How could he buy any luck with a lost harpoon, a broken knife, and 2 lacerated hands? Around 10 o'clock at night, the old man saw the lights of the city. Perhaps there would be no more sharks, but by midnight he found himself fighting once again and realizing that the fight was useless. Sharks had now come in a pack and thrown themselves on the marlin. The old man kept hitting the sharks with his club, but after a few such efforts he lost the club. Then he picked up the tiller and started raining blows on the sharks' heads. Eventually there were no more sharks, because no meat was left on the marlin's body. The old man knew that he had finally been beaten. He now sailed lightly without any thoughts or feelings. During the rest of the night, a few more sharks hit the marlin's skeleton, but it was like someone picking up crumbs from a dinner table at which people have already eaten. The old man paid no attention to them. He did not pay any attention to anything except steering. He was now thinking only of his bed. Bed would be a great thing. Bed was his friend. He had been bitten. He asked himself what had bitten him. The answer was that he had gone out too far.